You can run, but you certainly cannot hide, especially from Amazon. My name is Noah Wickham. I'm sales director here at My Amazon Guy, and we have some interesting news here about what Amazon is and isn't able to actually see from your direct-to-consumer websites. So, first and foremost, this was brought about from Vanessa Hung. If you are not following her, go follow her. She is fantastic. She posts all sorts of news, all sorts of interesting topics around Amazon all the time. Good friend of mine as well. She has some great content. Vanessa essentially has talked to a couple of different sellers now and realized something very interesting, and that would be Amazon is essentially crawling websites. So Amazon reached out to a customer after a couple of different interactions and explains that their AI crawls the brand website, it validates product claims and packaging content, it stores that information internally to inform automated compliance enforcement. If the site includes non-compliant phrasing, even if it's not on Amazon, it can trigger listing takedowns. Now, this is something that is somewhat new, but not really new. And I have a good example of this. Essentially, Amazon for years has been coming across and saying, hey, we scoured the web and we found that you have a high pricing error on Amazon because your price is either higher or does not match that of other consumer websites, including your own. You can see this is very common across the board. We have this brand right here, Be Driven, where essentially on their website, they're at $37.99. Amazon, though, they're at $36.99, which it seems counterintuitive given, scroll down, there we go, $36.99. It seems counterintuitive given the fact that essentially Amazon, at the end of the day, is always going to be more expensive. There are more fees, there are more shipping costs, there are more storage costs. Amazon, at the end of the day, usually is about 43 to 50 or 60% of the total retail price that you are selling the product for, depending on what the size of the product is. So it's always been super weird to me that they require this high pricing error thing. I get it. They are the most customer-centric company in the world. We try and be the most seller-centric. It's why we sell shirts like this where it's us versus Amazon, because it is all of us versus Amazon. This is a great example of that. It is interesting to me to see that Amazon is essentially saying, hey, we are going to start enforcing things on your overall platform from both your DTC, which we have no bearing over, but they essentially just want to have the most customer-centric and customer-facing, easiest solution in the world. So I understand it from their perspective, but looking at something like this, you know, the product detail page, looking and having to have the exact same thing on your direct-to-consumer website as you do on your product detail page on Amazon. If you have any inconsistencies, they'll take it down and they'll send it to the compliance site. These are the type of things that make me worry. This is the area where I start to say, Amazon, you are becoming a monopoly. You know, if you get to the point in which every single site has the same exact pricing, every single site has the exact same information, every single site has the exact same shipping, you know, most sites at this point in time either use Amazon shipping in one way, shape, or form with multi-channel fulfillment, or even potentially they end up using the same exact shipping service that Amazon does. So this is one of those areas where I worry. Amazon essentially is trying to control things that aren't Amazon even. We all know for the longest time, Amazon is basically its own mini government on the platform, and now it's trying to extend its little hands and reach into other platforms and dictate what other platforms can have, and if you don't want to comply, it'll kick you off that platform, or their platform, I should say. What do you do in this scenario? Well, I don't think for the majority of sellers this is going to be that big of an issue. Usually from a situation like this, and again, what Vanessa actually says here, what Amazon had said essentially is they're going to be validating information, right? The one area is the automated compliance enforcement team. So that's one of the areas where if you are claiming medical grade in some capacity, and you know, this is actually a great example because these are essentially medical grade. You can come up here to the shop and you can see medical grade up here. However, thankfully, they actually have the ability to do that on Amazon as well. So medical grade, something that normally is a term that you can't use across the board. In this capacity, they are able to use it, thankfully, for the product. But there are a lot of people that potentially they are medical grade, but Amazon won't let them because Amazon just won't accept their compliance. So they'll throw it on their direct-to-consumer website because it is a search term that they want. On Amazon, they will keep it off. And what do you know, Amazon now is going to flag them for what they have on their direct-to-consumers. This is one of those areas where I'm not a huge fan. I say that a lot about different things that Amazon does, but it really is Amazon's extending its reach, and they're trying to enforce their policies on different sites in different areas. And that's one of those areas where it now turns into more of a you're either with us or you're against us situation. Again, all of us versus Amazon, and Amazon really just is trying to control the entire thing. They're trying to control businesses, they're trying to control business practices. Now, don't get me wrong, if you have some form of claim on your direct consumer website that wouldn't fly on Amazon because it's just blatantly false, and you are leading with false pretenses on your direct consumer, of course that is a problem. But at the end of the day, it is not Amazon's job to enforce that on your direct consumer website, nor should it be their responsibility, nor should they even be allowed to at the end of the day. These are a couple of things that I'm just not a really big fan of, especially with the age and coming of AI. That being said, I don't see this being a huge problem for majority of sellers. I see it being a problem potentially in the supplement space, but granted, we all know that's hardly even regulated on Amazon at this point in time, with creatine just being disgustingly Chinese sellers that's half not even creatine most of the time and just faked certificates. I see it being an issue with anything like this that is medical grade. I see it being an issue with anybody who is trying to claim some form of medicinal help in some way that Amazon typically would not, especially if you are more homeopathic, let's say, with your product. Overall, I think thumbs down from me on this. What can you do to solve this, and what can you do to help yourself? Well, the primary thing that you can be doing here is just make sure that you have as clear and concise information across the board on all platforms. Doesn't matter if it's Amazon, your direct consumer website, Walmart, Target, any of the different platforms that you potentially sell on. Make sure that all of it has as clear verbiage as possible. Most all sites have very similar advertising policies and practices around what you can and can't advertise as is, and that's usually the thing that I tell people to go for. If you are trying to find just one status quo, just look at all of the commonalities of different ad platforms and what they don't allow versus what they do allow. And that's usually your best bet as far as understanding how you can set up your product, what you can and can't say. Anyhow, if you like information like this, feel free to give this video a like, subscribe down below for more content like this. We put it out all the time, and we will see you next time.
I know the Amazon grind can be overwhelming. From account issues to low traffic, it's a lot to handle. That's where my Amazon guy steps in. Scan the QR code or click the link, and let's work together to boost your sales and make your life easier.